So welcome everyone. Welcome to all the participants today. Today is session 4, and session 4 is the last session of the Crypto Thursdays. So just a reminder of what we try to do is we try to do every Thursday since the beginning of July, very informal conversation about crypto. The idea came out of, conversation between Pedro, George, and myself, like having a coffee, and we said, why not sharing that with an audience? So we came up with that. Today is the last session, and also at the end of the session, we would like to have your feedback in a way of a Google form that we're going to share. We would also like to hear from you. And we'll go to the logistics at the end of the slide to tell you where to get this Google form and etc. But overall, I'd like to thank also the people that participated and the guests that we had. We had Adam the last 2 sessions, and we also had Pedro. If you remember, Pedro was talking fast, but I think he had a lot of content. And I'll thank both of them to have joined us. I'll thank also a lot Pedro and George here that have been putting the content together and sharing what they know with you. And I'd like to thank Celine, that is not here today, the academic director of the center, to sponsor this initiative. So without any further ado, I'd like to pass to Pedro and George to entertain you for the last session. Thank you, guys.
I hope I live up to the challenge of entertaining you. Let's see how it goes. So right, last session, session 4. Who knows what will happen after the break? It's up to you as well to give us ideas and feedback on what you think should be the follow-on to this. We've started out, I remind you, as doing a little bit of an experiment. You've been incredible throughout all these 4 weeks. It's been a ball to put together these sessions and discuss with the people. It's been incredibly fun. So let's go and dive into the last one. Quick recap. Previously on this channel, what did we talk about? If you remember, on the first session, we've covered blockchain as the foundation and the basis for all of this. What is it, and how does it work? Nobody needs to have very in-deep understanding unless you want to develop code or you want to do something else. Very in deep. You don't need to understand exactly how it works. You need to understand what it does, how it does it, and why it does it, which I think we've tried to cover in a decent way for you, or at least give you the pointers so that you can then go and study a little bit more what's going on. On the second session, we've talked about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stable coins, amongst other things. If you remember, this was pretty much nothing new here. A lot of these concepts that we've talked about already exist in the real world. Let's put it like that. There's a lot of economics and economy views and sciences into this part, mixed with technology. On the third session, we took a very brief look at the ecosystem and the stuff that is around, just the tip of the iceberg. Basically, there's lots and lots of things happening and coming up. Again, to my very big surprise, I don't see exactly any revolutionary concepts coming up. This is exactly what I was telling you a couple of seconds ago. All that it exists in the real world is being transposed into the virtual world, or to the matrix, if you will, and it's being implemented in a technological way. And if you think about it for a second, there's a word that I think it describes pretty well what crypto is. And the word I would offer to you is dispersion, or if you will, disintermediation. So suddenly everybody can be a bank. I can lend money, I can borrow money, I can create a coin, I can create money, I can print money, I can burn money. I can put together an ecosystem of incentives for the stakeholders that I choose. And this is basically the power and the freedom that's behind crypto. What we have for today, it's a little bit of a mixed view in between a little bit of theory and practical knowledge. So there's one thing that we had to address in a little bit more detail, which is ICOs, okay? And the other part, which I suspect that's going to be popular, it's the tools part, okay? This is a never-ending story. This is what some of us use. I'm sure that there's a lot more things that I have no idea what they do, and they're very useful. If you come across some of these, please share it. That's why this is a very rich experience. Everybody shares what they bump into. And the approach that we're going to take on the second part is a little bit of the set of tools, or the basic set of tools, if you will, that we can use when looking into this brave new world. So, first question: how do I launch an IPO? I also want to have my own coin, and I want to have an IPO, please. Why can't I have an IPO? And to be honest with you, this is not incredibly difficult. We've seen two projects in the last session with Pedro and Adam. What they did basically was to launch an IPO, but an ICO, sorry. And there's work. Of course, you can maximize your chances of success, but from the technical point of view, there's not much in it, okay? And the first thing to remember is that an ICO is pretty much an IPO, an initial public offering. So initial coin offering is pretty much what an initial public offering is. And what is it? It's when a company decides to go to the stock market and be publicly traded. What does it mean to be publicly traded? It means that anybody can jump in and buy stock of this company at a regulated place, which in the real world is called an exchange. If a company goes and IPOs on the NASDAQ, for example, then it gets listed on the NASDAQ, and the operators that work on the NASDAQ can then buy and sell or execute your buy and sell orders so that anybody who has access to the NASDAQ can then go and buy. With an ICO, it's exactly the same thing, and the mechanics are very, very similar to what we've described. What is behind this?
Here I would just add that while in the NASDAQ you have an intermediaries, in the ICO case it's much more common. Sorry, you can't see me. Can you see me? Okay.
Yeah, you're fine. We can see you. We can see your thumb, George.
What?
We could see your thumb.
Okay, now you can see me. What I was saying is, in this case, ICOs are most commonly done without intermediaries. For example, both Adam and Pedro launched the pre-ICO and ICO themselves, and then the launch was made on decentralized platforms. And the only thing that they did was create a pool of tokens to be traded, and they put a starting price, and then people were able to start trading it in those platforms. But for larger projects, we have those mechanisms that Pedro talked about, and even some very known platforms that promote and help tokens do their ICOs.
Yeah, I mean, all the concept, and again, we bump into the dispersion concept, okay, which is very basic to all of this. Yes, you can do it in a real world. You go to a bank, the bank will take you public. They'll offer you a menu of services that you will need. Like the bank can be a market maker for you in the first 2 months or 3 months of trading, and there's a price to that. They will value you. They will execute the process of taking you public through all the regulation committees and all of that. Here, it's pretty much the Wild West, I would say, in the sense that there is not a very complete set of processes that you need to follow and you need to arrive at the end. And then there's gatekeepers that will actually tell you, well, you can do your IPO on this day because on the other day we have other IPOs. But I mean, here the word is disintermediation. And you can pretty much do whatever it's done in the real world in your own timing and with your own requirements. Another thing which is really important and interesting, and if you make a comparison with what goes on in normal IPOs, the companies that reach the IPO phase are pretty much mature companies, or at least scale-ups. Okay, what does this mean is that they basically have sales, they have a product, they have product market fit, they've been successful to some extent in the market. So now it's a question of raising capital or raising money in order to boost their plan, and when they execute their plan, they will grow, and therefore they will return value and money to the stockholders that have betted on them and have bought their stock. What we see in the crypto world is ICOs being used a lot as a form of raising money to execute the project. So what this basically means is that investors get into the bandwagon at a very earlier stage. Sometimes it's just the idea. What happens with this is that the risk increases. And I want to be very clear about this topic as well. Do not believe everything that you read or hear. There's a lot of scams all over the place. And as the risk is increased, because most of the people that do ICOs have not yet tried their product out in the market, it could fail spectacularly. And if it does, then there goes your money. Okay. The reason why these are very popular is they can take you to Lambo stage very, very quickly. As the risk-reward relation is a lot more riskier than in what happens in IPOs, that means that you run bigger risks, but your reward can be a lot more interesting. And you can do a bet that pays 10,000 times, 100,000 times, and so on and so forth. So for each euro you put in at this stage, you can see it multiplied by whatever it is at the later stage. So I wanted to address this first. In terms of the recipe for actually doing an ICO, well,
before going to the recipe, just to add 2 points. One is to reiterate your point of fraud. There are anybody with a couple €100 can launch a token on the Binance Smart Chain. With a couple more €1,000, you can promote it even without having any plan. And if you guys check some of the tools that we'll present to you later, you will see that there are several tokens launched per day, and most of them never leave the launch phase and never reach 300-400 holders at least. And the second point here is we can compare the ICO a little with the IPO for angel investors. Is you invest on a very, very early stage, and you are expected also to participate in the development of the product and of the project. And all these projects, for example, both Pedro's and Adam and Adam's tokens. They are very, very active platforms while they try to interact, especially with these early members of the community in designing the products, in promoting the token, and even in bringing new people in.
Right, thanks. So what's the recipe for doing this? Nothing out of this world. So you need to design and create a product. That's what it is all about. Okay. If you remember, Adam had an integrated view around the startup ecosystem and the content and the investing part, and the tools for startups and all of that. Pedro had a value proposition around collectibles and NFTs. You can do whatever you want. Come up with your own world. So you're basically designing your own world, or your I wish I was true world, with your own rules, with your own set of incentives, and you're free to do it. The idea here is, if you really want to be serious about this and want to be successful, don't forget that you need to convince more than yourself. So put something together that can actually convince other people to embark in your own adventure as well. The other part is check the legal part. Okay. And if you're going forward with this, you will need a formal entity. There's places that have restrictions around this. There's places where there's not so many restrictions around this. It can be a thin line. Check it out. Depending on what you want to do, you can have other streams of revenue. Imagine, for example, that you're selling merchandise as well. If you're selling stuff, you need to charge VAT. You need to have your own organized accounting. You need to pay taxes. All of that. It's a requirement and a concern for your project. You will need probably to have a company and so on and so forth. Creating the token, it's actually the easy part. You can dive into Open Zeppelin framework, for example. This is open source. You can do, if you want to, one of the easiest things to do is to create a token on Binance Smart Chain. You can use this framework to do it. You can use Remix, which is a very popular environment to code this and to develop the rest of the code. Or, and there's quite a few of these things around, there's sites that offer services that can do this for you. And it's cheap. With $100 to $100, you can get the template to actually launch a token, and it's nothing out of this world. Watch out with what you're going to do. Supposedly, you should understand from the coding perspective, what is it that you're doing, and what type of code are you running or making it available to the world, in order to avoid future surprises. Let's put it like that. So it helps if you have a technical person on whom you can rely. And the rest, it's basically planning, putting together the tools, the white paper, the website, all of that. Marketing it like there's no tomorrow, and leverage all the influence marketing, everything that you can think of. Make your own dances on TikTok videos, whatever it is. Just market it around. And then comes the last part, which is actually listing it in one of the exchanges. Okay. If you want to list it in a big exchange, the process might be a little bit heavier. You'll probably need to spend a little bit more money and go through a couple of steps, additionally a couple of steps in the process. There's quite a few decentralized exchanges out there that will list your token without a lot of complication.
In fact, in these decentralized exchanges, you might not even list the token yourself. What does this mean? Anybody that owns a part of the token that you might sold to pre-ICO can go to an exchange and create a liquidity pair with that token and another token, and then the token will be traded there.
That's a nice point. Sometimes you are not in control of your own tokens. Think through it. This is not difficult to do. So most of the times this is organized, like you split, you issue or you mint, if you want to use the word, a few million tokens. You distribute that throughout the people that have contributed to the project or that are contributing to the project. You can even create, if you remember what we talked in the first session and second session, a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, which is like a company based on smart contracts, where the reward, it's the token itself. So you can actually pay people in tokens. And then these people can in turn sell their tokens in an exchange in order to swap them for money or other tokens. Okay, so nothing really incredibly difficult here. You just need to go through the steps. I would say that's the hard part. It's the beginning. Come up with the idea, come up with the incentive system, come up with your own world, build it, and then the rest is basically execution. I'm just going to pause for a second, see if there's any question coming around in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourselves and ask it, that will be fine as well. No questions? Either I did a fantastic job or an incredibly lousy job. It's one or the other. It's never in the middle.
Questions on ICOs? How it's done, the roadmap, etc.
Okay. Well, let's move on then.
Excellent.
George, tell us about Ethereum and Internet Computer.
So here we have just two quick examples to give you guys, especially on what an ICO look like, two of them, and the evolution of this process, which actually also represents a little the evolution of this market. So on the left, we have the Ethereum ICO. It was done in 2014, and it raised 15.5 million at the price of 31 cents per Ethereum token, which at the moment should trade a little bit on the 2000 level, I would say 2000, several hundred level. This ICO was conducted mostly within the crypto community. Pedro, I don't know if it's only me or, okay, now I can see the screen. This ICO was conducted mostly within the crypto community and was something that for the time it was high profile, but it didn't reach any newspaper or mainstream media with relevant impact. On the other hand, we have Internet Computer. It's very recent. Probably some of you have read about it in the recent months, which had an ICO price of 0.3 cents, and reached in the first couple of days $550 per token. Of course, the price was not sustainable and it dropped by 80% in the next couple of days. And this ICO, on the other side, not very different from Ethereum, was widely publicized, was not restricted at all to the crypto community. And the huge influx of people that came in was not even expected by the founders or even the projects behind it. Basically, just to show, I don't know if you have any questions about any of these. I think it would be more interesting to talk about this slide based on any doubts that you might have or any points that you guys want to make.
So the only thing that I would add is that Ethereum, it's now trading around 2,300 US dollars, more or less. It has reached $4,000 a month and something ago. It's highly popular, and it's a reference, and it's the original blockchain for smart contracts. If you remember the first sessions, there's a gentleman that goes by the name of Vitalik Buterin. He's very famous. He was one of the founders, and very famous and very rich as well by now. Most of the people that participated in the original project have gone and founded other crypto coins as well. Chris has gone and founded Cardano, for example. There's a lot of them involved in other projects, and they're basically the original PayPal mafia, if you will, which has been on the genesis of most of the stuff that now has a little bit of maturity to it in terms of projects. But this is two very simple or complicated examples of ICOs that have happened not very long ago, which I think provide an interesting view of the market. Any more comments or questions? Right, should we move forward? Let's go for the tools. Do you wanna kick it off, George?
I can kick it off. I think here, as I think Pierre mentioned it in the beginning, as a little sweetener that to actually provide you guys with the tools to go look at most of this stuff by yourself. We have here a small framework that we discussed, and we try to divide this journey and these tools in 4 key groups. The first one is, how do you guys and how do we as investors, as people interested in these coins, get to know them and do our research? The second is, how do I get my money, my real world money, my euros, my dollars into this market? The third is, how do I buy and how do I trade these tokens that I purchase? And the last is, how do I manage these tokens? How do I do my research? Where do I keep them? Where do I see where the price is going? Where do I put my sell and stop loss orders, etc. And I think we can start here in the first one, in how do you get to know these tokens? As Pedro mentioned before on the ICO part, marketing is key in these new tokens and in all projects within this community. And it happens mostly in platforms like Telegram, Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook a little bit less, but as well. And also it happens in specific platforms that are known within the market, for example, CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, that are sites that gather and basically they are aggregators of information on these tokens. And for example, whenever a coin gets listed on CoinMarketCap, it usually has a small bump in price as it is a small stamp of quality. I don't know if you want to add anything on this first point, Pedro, or if anyone has a question on this point.
Yeah, well, let me just add the following. I never understood why Telegram, it's the platform of choice for messaging in this community. But the fact of the matter is that it is the one. There's no escape from it. If you want to do it, you need to be on Telegram. That's it. Without wanting to go into the details, I think there were a few antibodies against WhatsApp in the beginning. But if you want There's other stuff which is more neutral or more open source, like Signal, for example. I use a combination of quite a few things, as I'm sure most of you do. Telegram, obviously. WhatsApp, because there's a ton of people that won't just let go of it. Signal is not yet in terms of usability in the maturity stage of what you get with either WhatsApp or Telegram. So I suspect that that is the main reason. And then Apple's iMessage, which is probably the less popular in the middle of all of this. Do not forget the genesis of the movement. There's a lot of underground internet people that have actually taken an interest in this and started all of this thing with crypto. So it's not at all uncommon to also find platforms like Discord, for example, which is very used on the gaming part. So there's a mix of things. I look at it as a mix of underground and the mix of alternative stuff that then boils to the top. And for whatever reason, Telegram, it's basically the platform of choice where most of the action happens in terms of crypto. If you look at things like YouTube, that's pretty much used for marketing purposes. People do the videos, and then they post them on YouTube or TikTok or whatever. Reddit is usually more for Reddit, I would say. Reddit is pretty much the voice of the crowd in terms of putting together the summary of the opinions of what goes on. People say yes, people say no. There's a lot of crap in there, as you may very well know. But there's real pearls in terms of stuff that goes there, and when it gets viral, in the sense that it catches up in a platform like Reddit, it's very interesting for your tokens and for you to understand what's going on and what's cooking. CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, like George was saying, are pretty much the go-to stuff in terms of, oh, let me see what's happening here. Let me see what this token is all about. It's not listed in CoinMarketCap. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Or on the other hand, it's not listed in CoinMarketCap yet. So I do want to have something to do with this, because when it gets to CoinMarketCap, that's when the whole thing starts and it'll get known. So if you believe in the thing, if you think the project is a legit one and has a lot of potential, you're better off catching it as early as possible. But most of the stuff that goes on in terms of, well, how does it happen? Do you just wake up in the morning and you dreamt of stuff during the night? No, not at all. It involves spending ridiculous amounts of time in these platforms, in talking to people that have similar interests, and communicating and checking out stuff, and just basically surfing on the web, sometimes without even a clear purpose, and see where it leads you.
That's one extreme, the surfing on the web. On some more, let's say, mechanized way, there are several analysis tools and platforms where you have bots searching Reddit for the tokens, gathering more upvotes or comments, or gathering volume on this exchange or the other. So you also have, of course, those type of tools that you'd use on normal stocks, maybe for other metrics.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you have any questions on the how do I know. If not, we can go for how do I transfer the money.
So before we move there, my understanding here is that this first area, or how do I know, is basically doing your own research where you want to get and eventually invest, or if you're interested in any project. So you would be doing some research in these tools that you provided before you do anything else. Because what you mentioned is you may have fraud, you may have a lot of things. So you need to do some research before eventually doing the next step, which is transferring. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I'm, for example, I'm part of a group on Telegram. I have no idea how I got there, to be honest with you. But the reality is that I'm part of it. Every Sunday around 6 o'clock, there's a pump. So what they do, they just tease people and they announce it. I think they start on Saturday. It's like, at 6 o'clock on Sunday, we're gonna do a pump on a certain coin, which will let you know exactly at 6 o'clock on Sunday. And guess what? It happens, and it pumps, right?
Okay.
So you need to be careful with this type of thing, right? So
normally those groups are scams. They create a coin and then they take the money out of the pump themselves. You see beautiful graphs, but it's all manipulated because it's so cheap to create the coin. They create it, they put 1,000, 2,000 euros in liquidity. And whenever the first people come in, it will go up 300, 400%. It will attract more alpha dozen of people in a couple of minutes. It will go up 200 or 300% more, and then they'll start selling their payday.
And then it drops to the levels where it was
Zero.
just before the pump, or even to zero. Now, having said this, for example, last Sunday, I did $11 on this. So you need to know how to play the game. And basically what I did was I waited until I started to see the pump going up, and I must have bought it sort of very close to the top. And when I saw that it was enough, a couple of seconds later, I sold, and I made $11 in the process, which is fine. I mean, it pays for the coffee. But you know as long as you know what you're doing and what the risk is, that's okay. But this happens, and there's a lot of stuff going around, and do not believe in everything that you hear or see or read. Collect your data and have your own reasoning about it. It's really important.
Okay, thanks.
Should we go for how do I get the money in? How do I take a bite at the cake?
Well, so here we rely on traditional banks. I think we have the symbol here, and the idea we wanted to share in this part is for you to get your money into the crypto world, 99% of the times you'll be using your bank to transfer it to an exchange like Coinbase, Binance, or you have their Cryptologia, that's a Portuguese project that's opening a small exchange that will have some physical stores, I believe. But you'll need to use your bank, your fiat money, to buy some tokens from one of these decentralized platforms. Either that, or you do a peer-to-peer transfer. For example, there's nothing stopping me and Pedro from arranging, tomorrow I'll buy a Bitcoin from you for 35,000 and doing that transaction. And you've also transferred your money, if you're the purchaser, to Bitcoin without a centralized exchange.
For 45,000, it's yours.
I don't know if you have any question here. There isn't much in this part.
Let me dive a little bit into the details of this. So,
go for it.
I mean, 99% of the times you'll be using your bank. The other 1% you'll be using your mattress if you've got your money in your mattress. Okay. And if you're going to be using the mattress, that's a problem, because somehow you need to put the money in the bank. So you revert to the first 99% of the possibilities. So let's assume that there's nothing fishy here. You do not have the money in a bag of money. It does not come from any illicit or illegal activity. So you probably have the money in your bank account, period. So how do you get it through the Stargate portal, if you remember what we talked about in the first sessions? Nothing really very fancy in here. You need to get it through to one of the established exchanges. And this can go on and go on forever. There's a ton of them. There's Binance, there's Coinbase. Coinbase is publicly traded in the US. There's Kraken, there's Bybit. I don't know. There's tons and tons and tons of them. And these exchanges basically allow you to open an account. You will need to go through what is called KYC procedures, which is the acronym for Know Your Customer. And you will need to go through AML procedures as well. AML stands for anti-money laundering. Okay, so what does this mean? The exchange on the other side, which in this case is your counterpart in the financial transaction, will need to understand to a reasonable extent who you are and where the money is coming from, and if the money is clean or dirty. Okay, so you go through these procedures. It's nothing really fancy. You open the account. You basically take a picture of your ID card. They usually ask you to take a selfie of yourself. A couple of minutes later, or a couple of hours later at the most, you're already part of the database and you're free to go. And basically, what you do is a bank transfer. Okay. Most of these exchanges will give you an IBAN number, and you go to your bank and you do an IBAN transfer. In Europe, it's called a SEPA transfer, and you do the transfer, and that's it. In the same sense as if you were transferring money to your friend or to pay a bill or whatever it is. What has been going on lately is that it's been, some of the exchanges have faced restrictions in terms of accepting bank transfers. Binance, for example, used to use a neobank in the UK called ClearJunction, and this was basically their gateway into the fiat world. So you would do a bank transfer to an IBAN, which actually belonged to ClearJunction, which was the bank, and the bank then would settle this transfer with the exchange in itself. Regulators are starting to get nervous with this type of thing, and sometimes things happen. So Binance, for example, has cut the access of people to IBAN transfers or SEPA transfers since a couple of weeks ago. I think it was end of June or mid or end of June where this started to happen. Today, what can you do? You can use another exchange. Okay. You can use your credit card. Usually it's very expensive to load up your exchange account through your credit card. However, in fact, I was just checking not very long ago, and I think what Binance did was reduce the commissions when you topped up your account through your credit card to zero. So now it could be an option. It could get messy because the operator of your credit cards might somehow restrict your transfers to that exchange. So that could happen as well. Nevertheless, this is just like a mouse and the cat game. I mean, there's no problem with Coinbase, for example, up to this point. So you can always open an account in Coinbase, transfer your money into Coinbase, and then what usually happens, and we've been through this to a certain extent, you exchange your euros, assuming that you're doing an original transfer in euros. You exchange your euros for a stable coin like USDT, for example, and then you can use the mechanisms that crypto world provides in terms of transferring this money in between the wallets and just send it around. It's usually quite quick and not very expensive. You're paying gas fees at the end of the day. That is true. But unless you go through Ethereum, which can be the most expensive.
Even Ethereum right now,
Yeah,
you see €2, €3. For
If-
any significant transfer, it's not very relevant.
Yeah, if the network is not very loaded, it's okay. Some time ago, when Bitcoin was around 65,000 it was not unheard of to pay $200 or $300 for Ethereum gas fees. Okay, but there are other options. So the moment you transform it into crypto, then you can do whatever you want. You can transfer this to another exchange. You can transfer this to wherever you want. What are the other options
For you to be just giving a point here, but some banks in the US themselves, JP Morgan, is starting to accept crypto deposits. They are on a trial basis for that. So at a certain point, you will, if you have an account there or in a bank that accepts it, you'll even be able to even buy your coins from Binance and then just transfer them to your bank wallet.
The funny thing about this, and this is usually how it goes everywhere. So the first reaction from the establishment is, let's ban it. The second one is, oh, wait a minute, this is not a bad idea in the end. And
so
then
let's tax it.
Yeah, and then they start implementing it. And then the third step is, oh, we should tax it. That's how it goes. And then the other one that usually comes along in parallel is, we could make money out of this. Okay, and this is the biggest incentive of it all. So what you see, for example, happening is, and it's sort of happened first in the US. First they ban it and they try to control it. Then they realize that it's impossible because it's already out of the box and it's impossible to put it back in. And then big players like banks and institutions start looking at, oh, there's money to be made here. So why can't we do it? And why can't we control it and charge our own commissions and our own fees? And that's when it starts to happen and to roll and move forward. Other possibilities.
Just to clarify one thing here from the chat, you cannot use a DeFi exchange to convert your money from crypto into fiat. You can only use it for converting crypto into other crypto, because there is no counterparty in PancakeSwap, for example. There is no entity to be holding your cash. All the cash that is held, not cash, all the tokens that are all held by PancakeSwap are not held by any human being. They are held by the smart contracts themselves, without any party having the power to change or withhold or modify the transfers of the tokens that are there. So there is no party to have cash, and you cannot make that transaction with them.
Yeah, it's an important point. The decentralized exchanges do not work with fiat currency. They never touch it.
Now, if you want to have a point to think about, if any country like the US or China go forward with their governmental coins, then all these smart contracts would be able to work with real money, with money issued by a central bank, and you'd be able to have some large amounts of wealth being managed automatically in smart contracts with the backing and the guarantee of a central currency.
Yeah. So what other options are there here? So we can do a peer-to-peer transaction. Okay. So as George was saying, I can sell my stuff to him and he can sell his stuff to me. There's more sophisticated services. For example, I think it was Binance. George was the one bringing up the point. Binance now has an escrow service. So in other words, imagine that I'm buying a house from George, for example. It's a lot of money. I do not trust George in terms of just sending him, I don't know how many Bitcoins. And I say, I want an escrow service. So I want a third party to hold this until the transaction takes place and the register is in my name. And then if that happens, George gets paid the money. So we can do a peer-to-peer transaction like this, but we do a little detour and we go around to an escrow service. So there's stuff like this happening around, no big deal. The last one, Cryptologia, it's an interesting one, and it's a Portuguese one, so we thought we would mention it here because it's turning out to be some sort of over-the-counter service. So in other words, I've got here a pile of cash that I want to send through the Stargate portal to the crypto side. I don't want to mess around with any of this, so that's fine. So I go into Cryptologia, I sit down, I assume that I would do a bank transfer to them, and then they would get the money over to the other side and transfer it to my wallet of choice after it goes through the process. It's an interesting model as well, and I expect more stuff to pop up in this space with more ingenious business models behind it. George, how do I buy?
I couldn't hear you, Pedro.
George, how do I buy?
How do you buy? So here I think we went quite a lot, and in this too, the money transfer and the purchase. But we just left here 4 different examples. Between Coinbase and Binance is a difference within the company. And of course, they have slightly different services and easiness of use on different things. But basically, it's what we've been talking about. They are centralized exchanges. They have the tokens there. You transfer the money. You can buy the tokens. And from there, you can withdraw them to your wallet. You can keep them there. That's your choice. Then on the right, we have the PancakeSwap and Uniswap. Those are the decentralized exchanges. And there is where you can trade the tokens that you've bought, probably BNB, Ethereum, USDC, USDT, and buy these other coins if you're interested in them. In PancakeSwap and Uniswap, and also in Coinbase and Binance, you also have a huge plentitude of decentralized finance services, liquidity pools, stacking, and they are coming up with different sorts of instruments by the day, literally, particularly in the decentralized ones. So there's a lot of options to explore.
You can borrow money, you can lend money, you can aggregate together people that want to borrow money, that want to lend money. I mean, the world is so many possibilities. It can all be done because, go back to the first session in blockchain and smart contracts can make it happen. So what this means basically is that you have a completely different world in terms of interest rates. If you decide to put your money at work in a liquidity pool, or if you put it in a pool where money gets borrowed from other users, and it's collateralized throughout a bunch of people that have put money in there as well, you spread the risk, and then you get interest, which has nothing to do with real world interest. There's nobody setting the rates here in this world. There's no Federal Reserve to say, interest rate is 0 or 25 basis points or whatever it is. It's what the market decides to pay. Okay, and it can be interesting in terms of yields.
Literally is what the market decides. For example, in PancakeSwap and Uniswap, what you receive when you participate in these instruments is the returns that they make. There is a small fee for the maintenance of the platform that is used to reward the developers and the people who stake money in those platforms. But what you get from liquidity pools is directly proportional to the number of transactions that are happening on these tokens.
Yeah, so brand new world. And how do I manage, George?
I think here lastly, and I think we can pass through these tools. I don't know, maybe here we can do a short, quick pause. I don't know if there is any question on the chat. If you guys have any questions on the previous part, and then we can just go through these 3 tools and show them to you.
Yeah.
No questions, it seems.
Yeah, let's hit it.
Okay, so here the 3 tools we have is MetaMask, the wallet. We've talked about it in the first session. It's basically a pop-up on your Chrome window and it's where you hold your coins online. It's an add-on, exactly. Thank you, Vanya.
It's an extension. The technical term is extension. It's a Chrome extension that works in all the browsers whose back engine is Chrome itself. And it's an extension that then is used like that.
Exactly. And then we have the BS scan or Etherscan. I don't know if maybe I can show it or you can show it, Pedro.
Yeah, it would be perhaps interesting to share.
Okay. I can show it here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Quite easily. Give me a second.
So BSC scan.
Pedro, tens que me deixar fazer o share. Or
Yeah, can you
Pierre,
give me?
can you
try now?
Yeah, thank you, Pierre.
So BSC scan stands literally for Binance Smart Chain Explorer. So what this basically means is that you are inspecting what goes on into Binance's blockchain. There's a version of this. Let's put it like that. There's a version of this for Ethereum. There's a version of this for so many other blockchains around. But this is the tool that basically allows you to jump through things and check out what the hell is going on, who's selling to whom, in which quantities, at what price.
Okay.
This is the part where suddenly you find out that you're at the beach and everybody's naked. The only thing is that you do not know their names. They're all anonymous, but everybody is naked. You can see everything.
Literally, I think we can go here, and this is just a random token that we have talked in the previous session. And here we have the contract of the token, and you search by it.
I don't see your screen.
You can see my screen?
Nope.
Oh. Try again. You can see my screen? Okay, wait, let me try again. Can you see my screen now?
It's coming now. Yeah, here it is.
It is here. Okay, perfect. So here is BS scan. You have the price of BNB here. This is the token we are looking for. So basically, when you open it, you search for a token. Search it here. And you go at it. You can search for tokens, for wallet addresses, for contracts, whatever is on the blockchain, you can find it here. And in this token in particular, we can see all the transfers that are being made. And this is not just the buys and sales on PancakeSwap, but also the direct transfers that happen between users. For example, here we see that someone transferred to other someone 640 million of these tokens. We can also go here, and we'll deep dive soon, on to the holders tab, and we can see everybody that owns this token, how much they own, and what is the wallet address. From the wallet address, let's see this guy here, we can check exactly how many times they have bought and sold, and we can check even the details. Let's see this transaction here, the details of each transaction. In here we see that he bought $13,225 worth of BNB of GMR. that are now worth $15,488. For that, he paid the fee of 45 cents, and the BNB price at the time was this one here. And more, I can now with this wallet address, if I want to know what type of investor it is, I don't have only the information about GMR, but I can just go open the wallet. And now I know that he has 42 tokens, which are worth $375,700 US dollars, being most of it in this token here, the Wall Street. I'm not sure what the G stands for, and 117,000 in the GMR, with several bets on other coins. So whenever you want to research, and especially if you're investing in a small coin like the one we've seen previously, that has, I think the market capitalization at the moment should be around $20-30 million, you should do your research and actually see, okay, but who owns this? Is it very spread? Are there people with a lot of tokens? For example, these two wallets here with the combined 80%. And all this information is fully available to everyone.
You just don't know who it belongs to.
Exactly.
The name of the owner of this wallet. That's the only thing. So it's a nudist beach where it's an anonymous nudist beach. That's what it is. Everything's here, but you don't know the names. Another point that I just wanted to make very quickly is that there's people that actually live inside these tools. Okay, and what do I mean by live inside these tools? If you make the parallel with real world, you've got people that do technical analysis on the stock market, you've got people that do fundamental analysis on the stock market, and there's people that do in-chain analysis. And what does that mean? It means that they jump right into a blockchain and they can see what's happening in the past days, hours, minutes, whatever. So if they see, for example, that a lot of wallets that hold a lot of tokens are selling, and usually this is crypto terminology, the wallets that own a lot of tokens from one single crypto are usually called the whales. So these are the people that have more tokens of that specific token, the currency, sorry. And those are the ones that can easily influence the price by making it rise or dumping it or whatever. So there's people that what they do is they look at the transactions and what is going on. Okay, so if a lot of the wallets that have the most tokens are accumulating, well, if they're accumulating, that could be an interesting sign that people are buying. Or they can be accumulating to dump it, which is another way to look at this. So there's a lot of analytical tools that can be put on top of this in order to try and understand what the hell is it going on in the real world and in the market. Okay, you do not get this type of transparency if you're trading on the Nasdaq, for example, not on your life.
Okay. Is there any? I can't see the chat. Is there any question, or can we can
no, I think we're fine. The other one that we had was Bogged Finance.
I will just pass here.
Yeah,
and
okay.
basically, this summarizes what is available on BScan and the trading platforms, and gives you a more Bloomberg-like view to what's happening. So basically here you see all the trades coming in and out. You see exactly the value, the exchange it was done. If you press on it, it will take you automatically to the BS scan page, and you can see what happened and who is doing it. If you have your wallet connected and you own more than 500 euros in BOG, that's their token, you're able to check it with your trades and to have it all here settled down for you. Here they also have some token info about the liquidity, meaning where is it being traded, how much is there, what are the fees more or less, and for the bigger tokens, what are the news about them. You have a multitude of other tools and other platforms. This one, PooCoin, DEX tools, and they're all aiming at providing some support for people who are investing in these less known tokens. Because for Bitcoin, Ethereum, you have the charts everywhere. You can download the Excels with all transactions from several websites. But for these smaller coins, this is where you get this information. And these providers are actually also a part of this market, because the way they finance themselves is they issue a coin in their ICO and they use it to finance all this, and they will charge people like me who use it on my trading activities and on my company's trading activities to get better information and faster information.
Yeah, that's it. Plenty of projects around, and to be honest with you, plenty of space for a lot more, because
Completely.
when I looked at this, I said, well, this is fine, but this is not exactly what I wanted to see. I wanted to see this and something else. So
for example, one thing that I haven't found the software that would work is one that would auto scale me the right chart to 0. None. I would be willing to double my pay to get that, but I need to adjust it every time.
And stuff that connects to other stuff, like for example, one of the problems that I most of the time run into is trying to control what is happening in terms of portfolio. And there's usually some good apps for that in the mobile world, but then they do not have a counterpart in the desktop world. So that basically means that I need to end up inputting every transaction on the phone with my thumbs, which is not practical. So there's a ton of room for improvement in things like
this
that.
One, Pedro, yeah, it records it for you.
If I have it in Excel, that's all fine. But how do I get it into the mobile phone and get it imported into the app? There you go. I'd be willing to buy a few tokens from a project like that. A decent portfolio manager, because this can get very, very complicated.
Now, guys, just another warning: safety first in this session. All these tools will ask you to connect your wallet. So don't go randomly experiment some of these tools that appear. It's super important to do the research before pressing here and trying to get access to it. Because I'm not a blockchain expert. I cannot read the contract and safely say I cannot find a loophole, let's say. But you can research. There are audit ONGs that do it. But before you connect your wallet anywhere, make sure to do research about what you're connecting to. To give you an example, Bogged Finance, they had a big fraud with several hundreds of people losing money, where someone created the shards.bog.app. They replicated the website, and whenever people connected to see their wallet, they were kind of smart, because they didn't took the money all in a go, because then it pop-ups start appearing to you and you can stop it. No, they put a smart contract that drained the people's wallet 10% a day, and the people didn't even notice until it was too late.
You can have 2 accounts or 2
exactly
wallets.
One wallet to play around without any tokens, or just the enough tokens to pay the fees. But be very careful with any site that asks you for connecting your wallet.
And the other thing relevant here is that the wallet is pretty much used as your login into all of all of the things that exist in this world. Okay,
You would press here. Oh, this is automatic. If I was adding the automatic login, you would press here. A pop-up in the MetaMask would appear, and you just press accept.
Yeah, so it's a good idea to be careful with this type of thing. Right. Any questions? Should we get back into the slides?
That's right. So let me stop my share, Pedro. Here we are.
I think I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah,
Can you
I'm
see
seeing
that?
your screen.
Okay.
Yes, I see your screen.
Okay, good. So here's a snapshot of Binance, for example. George, do you want to take us through this one as well?
Yeah, it's just to show you what tools you have. Basically, here is the resume of some random wallet, and you can see that you have your fiat and your crypto there together. And in the crypto side, you can see that you have there several actions. Buying is basically using the money that you transferred into Binance to buy some coins. Deposit the coins is basically to put them in some sort of deposit tool within Binance, maybe staking, etc. Withdraw the coins is to take them from Binance to your external wallet, for example, MetaMask, hardware wallet, etc. Trade it is where you go for P2P and where you exchange it with other people. Earn is where you deposit them. And I actually need to see the difference between the earn and the deposit, but they are both products you can use within Binance. And the convert it is to sell it to Binance. Basically, convert.
The earn is usually for liquidity pools and where you put the money to work. The deposits, usually the risk is a little bit lower, and it's more like a bank deposit sort of thing. Okay, so when you want to go for earning, then you have all these financial tools in front of you that are a little bit more speculative and riskier that you can use. So just an example here, you have fiat currency in Europe and AED, which is United Arab Emirates dirhams in this case, and then you have crypto with HBAR, Ethereum, VET, EOS, and Cardano. George, bananas. Let's go bananas on this one.
Yeah, here is just a quick screenshot of one decentralized exchange where you swap one token for the other, and basically you have the two tokens there. In this case, again, BNB and GMR. You just insert your number there. It will give you a preview of how much you're gonna get for each token that you sell. And you'll also have certain other tools for your transaction. One that's very important will be the slippage. That will basically say what difference from the price that you see there do you accept. And in moments of high volume, you need to set it high if you want to have a chance of actually purchasing the token. And so basically that's it.
Yeah, the slippage thing is an important thing. We're talking here about decentralized exchanges where the volume is by definition not as big as what you would have in centralized exchanges. And what happens is that you might not have an order book as populated as you have on centralized exchanges, meaning that the gap in between the buy and sell price can be higher. So you need to be able, or you need to be prepared to accept a higher gap in between the buy and sell price. This is what the slippage is. Otherwise, you're just saying, I'm going to sell this at 1 BNB. And if you do not have a counter order on the other side for buying at the exact same price, then you're not going to get liquidity and your order is not going to get fulfilled. Okay. So what you're saying basically is, well, I accept a certain slip in the price, not too much maybe, but I accept a certain slip in the price in order to compensate for the smaller liquidity of the system. Any questions? No? So it's your turn now. Because we've pretty much finished what we wanted to say today, and in this couple, in these 4 sessions that that we set out to do in the beginning. So as Pierre mentioned, there's going to be a feedback questionnaire. We really need to understand what your comments are, your suggestions, everything that you want to say is welcome, be it good or bad. We also like to learn from our mistakes, and we do not pretend that this was 100% perfect, because no such thing exists. But we do want to improve this, and we want to be able to count on your feedback to do this. The other thing is, for those who will fill in the questionnaire, you will get a certificate from our side. Yay, there you go. This is news. We will give you a certificate if you fill in the questionnaire. So please be generous with your comments as well. It'll be very nice for us to get that feedback. And no, it's not bribe. It's a certificate. There's nothing to do with bribe. It's a certificate. That's what it is. You put up with us for 4 sessions, 4 days, an hour and something each day. So you deserve a prize. You do deserve a prize. It's not easy to put up with these people for so much time in the month of July on top of. So you do.
It's an incentive to help us prepare better the following sessions.
Exactly.
The potential following sessions.
And that's the exact point where we would like to open up the floor to you. You can unmute yourselves or just use the chat, whatever you prefer. The question is very simple. What would you like to see next? And what do you think about this? What would you like to happen next? Simple as that. Who wants to start? This is the time you realize that the audience is being questioned.
Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Go ahead.
I'm not shy. I just have a zoo in my house, so sometimes you couldn't even hear me because of the dogs. But hi, thank you so much for this crypto talks. I thought it was amazing. From the standpoint, thank you so much. It was funny. Sometimes it was very passionate, like Peter and Pedro Febrero in the last session. I thought I was going to see a fight. I wanted a popcorn, but still, what I would like to see, first of all, I would like you to continue these talks, maybe bring in more people like Pedro, like Adam, you know, so we can kind of see and know what's being built in this new universe. I can call it a universe because it never stops. The financial point of view, most of all of the tools that are used, that are being used, maybe some deep dives into staking, the pools. That's fascinating. and the overall concept and the different tokens that we call stable coins and the impact they're having in our world. I don't know if you guys know about the news about Tether, about so I don't want to like forecast another troika, but I don't know, selling something that you don't have, I don't know the cost or the bad shadow that's going to be forecast in the crypto world. And yeah, thank you so much. I will be accepting Bitcoin as a payment for my feedback. Anyways, God bless. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Vanya. Very, very nice feedback. So what I've heard is keep on doing it, more guests, some deep dives into certain topics. Okay, if I can sum it up like that. Okay, so again, to reiterate why this is incredibly important for us, we set out to do this and we decided to run it as a pilot 4 times. Month of July, this was a little bit crazy to do, especially in this month, but then again, we got still something left in terms of the pandemics, and a lot of people are still at home, so we thought that there was no risk. The initial idea was, how do we do a very quick overview of this world in 4 hours and something, and sort of help us level the audience to what's coming next or what could come next. So in those terms, I think what you're saying goes exactly in line with that. Is okay, let's get people up to a certain point, and then we can do deep dives on stuff. Well, today we're going to talk about liquidity pools. What happens? What are impermanent losses? How do you do it? How does it go? And all that type of thing. But it's impossible to do that without a basis. That's what basically happens. The guests thing was nice as well. We tried to get a flavor in with Adam and Pedro. We've had some interesting moments with both of them, and with iterations with some of the guests, which was also fun and refreshing, to be honest with you, and it brought a certain flavor of something different to this. So that's some very interesting feedback, and then I guess what you're talking about, Vanya, is sort of something like keep up with the news. I mean, there's stuff going on in stable coins. There's governments saying that they're going to do this or they're going to do that. What's the impact of this? Let's unpack what's being done and what does it mean in real life. This is what I hear. So who else wants to go in terms of feedback? We've got something being shared in the chat. Okay. Okay, great. So it's again more feedback in the lines of deep dives and the guests. Yeah. It's the deep dives and the guests. I agree. It's something that's necessary. Bring in the variety with the guests. Bring in the deepness with the deep dives. Thanks, Bruno. What else? People, it's your time to give back. People are busy. I think I have this feeling that some people listen to this as radio, as people used to listen to radio in the good old days. There's something in the background playing, and then there's people going back and forth. And podcasts is in the new days. In the good old days, it was radio. You had radio playing in the background, and you would get busy doing other stuff. Right, more. I enjoyed the sessions very much. They were informative for me. someone who knew very little about cryptocurrencies and who knows pretty much more. Yeah, that was the objective, Georgia. I'm really happy that you got something out of this. That was the objective, and it's very nice of you to put it like that. Anybody else? So the point is, we'll be back. I think. Let's take a well-deserved break. And
if the market doesn't collapse until September, if it still exists,
it
be
will
back.
not. It will not. I'm pretty sure. Oh, hang on.
Sorry, guys, can I say something?
Yes, of course, please.
Yeah, well, just to give my feedback and just to thank you. For someone like me, it's a newbie. I never been involved in this world, and to have this such insight full of masterminds as you guys are, for sure, was made me thinking in a different way, obviously, and looking forward to get involved more with percussion as well, as you mentioned always.
Yes.
Involved and to well, make me a bit how do I say, comfortable in this world. In fact, is that thank you, and hope we can see you later on. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll be back, like the other guy who used to say in the movie. We'll be back. And thanks for the comments, Subu. They were very considerate. Another one from Diogo. Same for me. Crypto world is really new for me, and these sessions really help to understand a little bit more. Yeah, it's just that, and I think we aimed at that objective in the beginning, so I think we've filled it in. So it's been an hour and a half. So we're getting better with time. We used to take an hour 40, so now it's an hour and a half. Okay, that's nice. So I wanted to thank you all for putting up with all of us, and to the moon we go. For those of you that don't know what this means, this is sort of the crypto motto, where everything's going to the moon. That means that's the only way is up. The market is only going up, and all of us are going to get the yellow Lambos. That's what it's about. Pierre, George, do you want to close it?
I would just reiterate and thank everyone for your participation. If you have any question, feel free to reach out. I think we have our emails, or in the YouTube videos we can add our contacts, and feel free to reach out and to discuss these topics.
Yeah, we're glad to hear from you as well. Pierre, you're the MC. You're the sponsor of this.
So first of all, I'd like to thank both you, Pedro and George, for putting the hours and the content in the discussion and the slides. Second, thanks a lot to the audience. You guys kept with us. You were with us for the last 4 sessions. Some of them, some of you came up and jumped out, but thanks for being here. The objective was really for you to get some, knowledge from trusted sources. So what we wanted to get to save you some hours of research and disappointments, and share with you what people that have trusted knowledge like Pedro and George, to share that with you. So I think it's a starting point and to explore further. So I think we gave you the tools, to give you some terminology, some linguas, etc. Your feedback was very important, and we'll use that for eventually the next session. So in the name of the Center for Technological Innovation and Entrepreneurship, I'd like to thank you for participating. We're going to look at and consider your feedback and how we're going to push that forward. Okay, but the idea will be always the same. This is no financial recommendation. This is just sharing information with you. You know, this is a world that is wild there outside, and we provided you with some tools to explore and get your own knowledge about it. And that's it. So let's see how we're going to move it forward, what we're going to be doing the next semester. And again, thank you. And on my side, I'm going to let you, perhaps we close, but thank you for that. Thank for the people that are participating. Again, thank you, Adam, that is not here today, and Pedro, for sharing their point of view and their passion on this world. And that's it. So thanks.
I think that was very nice. People, take care. Watch out for the sunburns and to the moon. There we go. See you back in September somewhere. Take care.